Blake Lively and her team are saying Megyn Kelly is a lying liar and that they never sent her a subpoena. At this point, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes and your lying ears? Because from what we know from Blake, we know we can't trust her. But what do we know about Megyn? Is she doing it for clicks? Did she even get a subpoena? Or did somebody else get a subpoena that kind of affected her? You don't know.
Blake Lively says she's the victim. Megyn Kelly says she's the target, but only one of them is telling the truth. Was Blake's legal team secretly trying to silence critics? Or is Megyn Kelly twisting the facts for attention? This battle isn't just about subpoenas. It's about power, reputation, and the future of free speech. And to date, we're breaking it all down. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, because what's coming next might change everything. The internet is buzzing, and for good reason. This isn't just a celebrity spat. It's a high-stakes battle where words like liar and bully are being thrown around by two of the most recognizable women in media. Here's what happened. Megyn Kelly, former Fox News anchor turned Sirius XM host, went public with a bombshell. She claimed that Blake Lively's legal team had served her with a subpoena in connection to a lawsuit involving actor Justin Baldoni. According to Kelly, Blake wasn't satisfied with critics voicing their opinions. She wanted their private communications, their behind-the-scenes materials, even their editorial notes. Kelly framed it as nothing short of intimidation. In her own words, Blake was trying to harass and silence the press. She doubled down, calling Lively pathetic, narcissistic, and untalented. Not exactly words you'd expect in a polite legal dispute. But here's where it gets messy. Blake's camp wasted no time firing back. Her spokesperson flatly denied that Kelly was ever served a subpoena, insisting that Megyn was exaggerating, maybe even lying. According to them, Kelly was making herself part of a story that didn't involve her directly. So who's telling the truth?
Is Megyn Kelly came out and said she got a subpoena from Blake and she fought it. Let's listen to some of the things Megyn said.
News broke in July that Lively had begun sending subpoenas to podcasters and others who had said or written negative things about her, from Candace Owens and Perez Hilton to people you've likely never heard of, like Zach Peters. She targeted more than a dozen journalists and online creators, igniting a free speech firestorm. We can now reveal that we were among those targeted by Blake Lively. Yes, she actually tried to get the confidential and proprietary materials my team and I used for any and all stories about her. Because Blake Lively was unable to fathom that yours truly had developed a genuine revulsion toward her on my own, she posited that I must have been ensnared in Baldoni's alleged ongoing smear campaign against her. That his attorney, who happens also to be my own from well before his representation of Baldoni, must be controlling our coverage. This is how narcissistic this woman is. She actually thinks I needed to get paid by Baldoni's team to say negative things about her. Newsflash, Blake. I came to those conclusions totally organically. Don't give away your power, sweetheart. It was you. It was all you who made me unable to stand.
Let's break this into two parts. Megyn's version of events versus Blake's defense. She says Blake's lawyers went after her by demanding documents through legal filings. While the paperwork may have technically gone to a third-party company tied to her show, Kelly insists that the documents named her specifically. In her eyes, that means she was a target. She didn't mince words. On air, she said, "I gave them nothing, not one email, not one document. I will never bow to Blake Lively." That's bold. And it played well with her audience, who cheered her on as the fearless journalist refusing to cave to Hollywood. Her team claims that Kelly is misleading the public. Yes, a subpoena was issued, but it wasn't sent to Megyn Kelly directly. It was sent to a third-party business, a company called Red Seed Ventures, which had previously supported Kelly's show. From Blake's perspective, that distinction matters. They argue that Megyn was never personally targeted, and that her dramatic story about being harassed is, in their words, a stretch. It's the classic clash of legal technicalities versus public perception, and that's where the real drama lies.
Not one document, not one record, not one communication. I'm a member of the press. You are a sad, pathetic, untalented, narcissistic bully. And I will never back down to the likes of Blake Lively. Never. And her fight to harass me and my team ended in her getting nothing. Nothing. However, there are still many content creators whom we believe are actively being bullied by Blake Lively to this day. We were in the fortunate position of being able to hire a lawyer to tell Lively to pound sand. And we sincerely hope the judge in this case will send a message to Lively and her legal team that they have overreached.
What I will say before Megyn continues is, while I appreciate her message, about supporting other creators now. I believe we're like about a month removed now from when people fought their subpoenas and won. A lot of people who didn't have the resources, who came together and fought and helped each other. I think Perez might be like one of the last few standing people actively in court fighting his subpoena. So yeah, it's nice of Megyn to say something, but like a month ago would have been.
Think about it. Megyn Kelly frames herself as David fighting Goliath, the lone journalist against a powerful Hollywood star. Blake, on the other hand, positions herself as the victim of reckless commentary, an actress forced to defend her name in court.
Like this one, where she bullied a reporter with no power after the journalist had the nerve to compliment Blake's very obviously pregnant state.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
Did you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you?
Yeah.
And working in digital.
Everyone wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
After this interview with Megyn made its rounds, Blake and her team, I guess, finally got a whiff of everything. And this is what they have to say.
But here's the big question. Why would Blake Lively, one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, risk her image by going after podcasters and commentators at all? It's not just Megyn. Reports say that Blake's team targeted over a dozen figures, from Perez Hilton to smaller online creators. Critics argue that this wasn't about one journalist. It was about sending a message. Speak against Blake, and you might get a subpoena in the mail. Was this about protecting her reputation or silencing dissent? Let's pause for a moment and consider what was at stake. By issuing subpoenas, Blake's team opened themselves up to accusations of bullying, because in the court of public opinion, even if the subpoenas are legally valid, they look like intimidation. Celebrities with money and power going after independent voices? That's not a good look, and Kelly knew it. She seized the opportunity to flip the narrative, painting herself as the truth teller under attack. That's why her words were so sharp, so personal. She wasn't just defending herself legally, she was winning in the PR war. But then again, Blake's denial wasn't just a weak excuse. Legally speaking, she may be correct. A subpoena to a third-party company isn't the same as sending one directly to a journalist. That's the loophole her lawyers are leaning on. So we're left with a paradox. Both women are technically right, and both may be spinning the truth for their own advantage. And here's where things get even more complicated. Many of the subpoenas Blake's team issued earlier were dropped once they faced backlash. In some cases, her lawyers quietly withdrew them after creators pushed back. That's why Megyn's sudden outrage feels, to some, like old news. Was she truly standing up for the little guy? Or was she just using this moment to grab headlines? Because timing matters. When other creators were fighting their subpoenas months ago, Kelly stayed silent. Now, after most cases were dismissed, she steps forward with a fiery monologue. Some critics argue that her speech would have carried more weight back then, when smaller voices needed solidarity the most. Still, Megyn has a massive platform, and when she speaks, people listen. Her accusations put Blake Lively on defense, forcing her to issue statements and clarifications instead of controlling the story herself. So here's the dramatic truth. Whether or not Megyn was technically subpoenaed, she succeeded in framing herself as the victim, and Blake as the aggressor. And in a battle of perception, that's often what matters most. But perception alone won't win in court. For that, we need to look at the bigger legal picture. Let's rewind for a moment to understand how we got here. This all stems from the It Ends With Us movie production, which began filming in May 2023 in New Jersey. The project was interrupted by the writers' strike in June 2023, then resumed in January 2024. The movie premiered August 6, 2024, and was released August 9th. Blake Lively didn't just star in this film, she was also a producer, giving her significant power behind the scenes. The lawsuit centers around allegations of a coordinated campaign to damage her reputation following conflicts during production. The key players are Blake Lively, her co-star and director Justin Baldoni, and various PR professionals, including Jed Wallace. Blake claims there was an astroturfing campaign, fake grassroots marketing designed to destroy her reputation. But here's the crucial detail. When asked when she first became aware of negative coverage, Blake points to the film's release date. This timeline becomes critical because it establishes when alleged damage began occurring. The case involves multiple lawsuits, cross-claims, and now these depositions that could determine the outcome of millions of dollars in damages. From a legal standpoint, these deposition excerpts reveal serious problems with Blake's case. In defamation law, you must prove specific false statements caused measurable harm. Blake's inability to cite even one specific defamatory article or post is legally catastrophic. You cannot win a defamation case based on vague impressions or secondhand information. Her claim that Wallace's work is clandestine actually works against her. If his work is so hidden, how did it cause public reputational damage? The logic doesn't hold up. The most bizarre moment comes when discussing the phrase "bury her." Blake claims that when someone allegedly said there would be 2 dead bodies, she considered it might be literal. She testified that as a mother, She felt physical danger was possible. But here's the problem. There's no recording, text message, email, or any evidence this statement was ever made. It's based entirely on what someone told someone who told Blake. In legal terms, this is multiple levels of hearsay, generally inadmissible in court. This testimony could actually hurt Blake's credibility. Claiming you feared physical violence from what appears to be standard Hollywood business disputes may seem excessive to a jury. The strategic implications are massive. If Blake cannot produce specific evidence of defamation, her case could collapse entirely. Her own testimony is raising more questions than it answers. The broader implications extend far beyond this single case. We're watching how Hollywood handles internal disputes in the social media age. Judge Lyman's recent order grants Blake's team access to phone records, HR policies, and communications with PR professionals. This could expose industry practices around reputation management and crisis communications. The September deadline for document production means we'll see more evidence soon, but the deposition excerpts suggest Blake's legal team may have overplayed their hand. Filing lawsuits without concrete evidence of specific defamatory statements is risky. If this case fails, it could set a precedent that celebrities cannot simply sue their way out of negative publicity. The most telling aspect? Blake appears disconnected from her own case. Her responses feel scripted, her knowledge seems secondhand, and her emotional appeals may not translate to legal victories. This case is revealing how celebrity legal strategies work, or don't work, in modern courts. The old playbook of aggressive litigation to silence critics may be failing when subjected to rigorous legal scrutiny. And if this case moves forward to trial with Blake unable to identify specific defamatory content, it could expose the entire foundation of her claims as built on sand rather than solid evidence. The Hollywood legal landscape is shifting, and Blake Lively's deposition may have just shown us exactly how fragile these high-profile cases can be. What do you think? Does Blake's testimony raise red flags about her case? Are we watching a legal strategy implode in real time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This story is far from over, and your perspective matters as we continue following this unprecedented Hollywood legal battle.